Rising from the bottom. If there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm. African proverb. Let's get into it. Man, oh man, come on in. If you kept up with the last episode, you see how things in Sabata's life flipped upside down. Man, isn't it something how life works like that? 1 minute, you're on top of the world. It seems like everything you aspired for, everything you desired is about to come through. And then boom, things go left. But you know what's even tougher? When you know in your heart that you have no one else to blame but yourself. When you get the opportunity and you blow it and you mess up. How do you come back from that? And that's exactly what Sabata was facing. That's what Sabata had to figure out for himself. How was he going to come back from this loss? Oh, it was a loss. So as you can imagine, when Sabata arrived home, he wasn't feeling like the king of the house, the king of the castle. He didn't feel like he was a conqueror. He felt defeated. Defeated was an understatement. It wasn't like he just fought a good fight and he lost. He was disqualified. And his fate in the boxing world lied in the hands of the boxing commission. And he didn't know what was going to happen next. He knew he was going to find out really soon. So everything was up in the air. His world was flipped upside down. And to make matters worse, he had to explain this to his wife. When he walked through the door, she was right there on the stairs. Her eyes was glowing. She was excited. You could tell she really wanted to be at the fight. But they didn't have anybody to, look after their baby or anything like that. So she was missing these fights. So it was a big deal for her, waiting for him to come back home. So like I said, when he walked through the door, she was right there. And he looked at her. And then he looked away. He could hardly look at her. He could barely look into those eyes. And she saw how he was looking. And she said, "How did it go?" And she got a little concerned. But she knew that he liked to play around and everything like that. He'll come home and tell her, the fight, didn't go well and all that stuff. Like he did the last time. He came home and said that he got knocked out. So she's like, "How did it go?" And then he looked at her and said, "I got disqualified." And though she knew that he liked to play around sometimes, she didn't think he'll play about anything like that. Disqualification, Sabata was an honorable guy. Everything about him, he wanted to do everything the right way. He was a stand-up guy. So she knew that for him to even play about something like a disqualification, that type of stain, like he wouldn't play like that. So her face, man, just the smile disappeared. And she's like, "What do you mean you got disqualified? And what happened?" And he was just like, I can't really get into all of it now. He couldn't really explain it. He barely was able to really accept it himself. He was like, I don't know what happened. And he was just speechless. And she was like, well, what's going to happen now? And he said, well, they're going to get back to me and let me know, where I go from here. The next day, he received a phone call, and it was the news that he was dreading, that he was suspended from the ring for 6 months, as if it couldn't get any worse. And to add on to that, not only was he suspended from the ring for 6 months, he did not get paid for the fight. Oh yeah. The commission withheld his purse. You didn't know they can do that, did you? Oh yeah, they can do that. And that's exactly what they did to Sabata's ass. They withheld his purse. So he was suspended from the ring for 6 months. They withheld his purse. He did not get paid for that fight. And he had to look his wife, Kara, in the eye and tell her that news. Man, he was in shambles. But when he told her the news, he was surprised that even with him telling her this horrible news about the fact that he got banned from the ring, he don't know how he's going to be making money at this point. Boxing was all he had. But even in the midst of that, she really seemed concerned about him. She knew that something like that rattled his world. But of course, she couldn't help to wonder, what are we going to do now? That's what she asked him. What are we going to do now? And he didn't have an answer. He didn't have a plan B. It was boxing or nothing else. And he knew that 6 months of him being inactive, not only was it damaging to them financially, it was damaging to him as a boxer. It's very important for a boxer to remain active. No matter how good you are, you got to stay active. So that was just a huge blow to him, professionally, financially, emotionally, and of course, mentally. So he could barely look Kara in the eyes. When she looked at him, she was like, what are we going to do? Like, we're behind already. And she's like, I know that you don't like this. You don't want me working and everything like that, but I'm going to have to get a job. And that's something that Sabata dreaded the most. He never wanted his wife to work. And he said, look, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to figure this out. Just trust me. And that's exactly what he tried to do. Over the next few weeks, he went out there and he was searching for any job he can get. Nobody was hiring. Nobody was calling back. Over the next few weeks, he heard nothing. Then finally, someone gave him a shot. He landed a job working at the neighborhood deli. Oh yeah, he was right in that corner store, stocking shelves, mopping floors, and making sandwiches, his favorite part of the job. And that ended up being the last place that Sabata looked, but the place that gave him an opportunity. Hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? So he was in there, mopping floors, stocking shelves, getting paid next to nothing. But it was something. Man, this job, man, when I tell you, it's the type of thing that really tested his ego. Oh, it tested his ego. One night he was in there making sandwiches and everything like that. And a group of young boys came in, and they were real young, like little teenagers or something like that. They ordered a hoagie. And Sabata, he's making the sandwich and everything like that, because he was real, he tried to be real quick. He didn't want, get you in, get in, get out. And whatever he did, he made sure he tried to do it with, he was just diligent about it. He wanted to do anything good. He believed that, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So he was going to be his best whatever it was he was doing. So he sat there and made that hoagie. He put it up real nice, took his time, put it together, and he wrapped it up, handed it over to one of the young bulls. And it was like, all right, take it easy. There you go. And the dude stops and he looks at the sandwich and he kind of like holds it in his hand and he weighs it like his hands is a scale. He's weighing it like, whoa, 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 this young kind of light, isn't it? And Zapata's like, what you talking about, man? And then he hands it to his friend. And he's like, yo, feel that. And his homies are right there and he's like, damn, this young light, instigating and everything. Man, yeah, that young is light. And he's instigating. And so he handed back to Sabata, and the dude was like, man, can you put some more meat on this bitch? And Sabata's like, it got meat on there. And so the boy goes and he unwraps it. He unwraps the sandwich, lays it out and looks at it and steps back pointing at it like, man, you better put some more meat on that bitch. And Sabata's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. At this point, he's like, well, who you talking to? And the little guys, he's sitting there, these little guys, they tough. He out of control. He look at Sabata and he's like, I'm talking to you. And then so right when it's like getting kind of heated, Mr. Lee walks up from the back. And he comes over like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? What's the problem? And the customer looks at Mr. Lee and he's like, this new dude just messed up my sandwich. That's what happened. And Mr. Lee, he kind of examines the sandwich. He takes a look at it like, he's the ultimate sandwich inspector. He takes a look at it like, yeah, what's wrong with it? And the customer is like, look at that shit. Look at it, man. That shit is skimpier than the mug, man. Look at that. And Mr. Lee examines it again, kind of, give his master inspection on the hoagie. And he looks at Sabata and just like, put some more meat on. And Sabata's like, it already got meat on there. And he said, well, put more on, more meat on there, more. And then he kind of barks at him because he was in a situation where he got the customer and Sabata, and he had to pull rank a little bit. And then this got Sabata real heated, but he held it in. He's like, I'm getting barked on. I'm making sandwiches. Like I got this man yelling at me, the boss yelling at me. Then I got these young bulls sitting there talking. And they start laughing when Mr. Lee, said, more on. The young guys, they started laughing. They got a kick out of that. And so Sabata had to, just kind of swallow his pride. He turned around and he finished making the sandwich. He went and added a little bit more meat on there. And then wrapped it back up. And then calmly handed it over to the customer. And the customer takes the sandwich again and he weighs it one more time. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's more like it. Yeah, so that was a rough day he had at work that day. That was a really rough day. And it was the type of thing where it was hard for him to really separate how he felt at work when he got home. Right? Everybody know you're not supposed to take your work home with you, right? But not only did he couldn't believe what he was doing, that he had to be doing that. He was being humiliated at the same time. So when he's sitting at home, having dinner one night with Kara, they sitting at the table and they just quiet. And Kara looking at him, she can see that something's bothering him. She can see it. She can see that he just trying to be cool. He looked just agitated and everything. And she knew usually, he'll train, and no matter what was going on, he can come home and find a way to smile, find a way to have something to talk about. But he was just quiet at the table. And so Kara was like, trying to find something to, lighten the situation. And then she comes up with this story about what happened earlier in the day. And she was saying how she was just visiting her parents and everything, and their little boy was everybody was giving everybody was giving her son hugs and kisses and everything like that, and then the grandfather tried to pick him up and give him a hug, and she was like telling a story about how the little boy just punched him, right? Just punched him in the mouth and made his dentures go crooked, right? And she's laughing, getting a kick out of this story. And when she mentioned the part about the dentures being crooked, that's when Sabata couldn't help to laugh. He was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, he did that for real." And Sabata was like, "I lied to you not. Those little teeth in his mouth, that my dad wears, they were crooked." And this was Sabata just like, laughing. He was like, "Yeah." And he said, "That's my boy." And he's like, "What hand did he hit him with?" And he was like, "It was the right, wasn't it?" I'm telling you, it was the right. And she was like, "I don't remember all that. It was just, all I know is that he hit him." And Sabata was saying, "Yeah, that's my boy." Well, man, it was the right. I'm telling you, man, before you know it, he going to be knocking him out in the ring. And then Kara, she said, "Oh God, no, he's not." And Sabata just stopped smiling all of a sudden. Face got serious. And she knew immediately, like, oh boy, here we go. She knew that, he didn't took it the wrong way. Sabata's like, "Why not?" And she was like, "Because my baby's not going to be no boxer." And Sabata seemed a little confused at this. He's like, "Oh, what's wrong with him being a boxer? Something wrong with being a boxer?" And before Kara can explain, he just was he's kind of venting now. He couldn't hold it no more. He's like, "Oh, because there was nothing wrong with being a boxer when I told you I had a title shot. Remember that? You was real excited when I came home saying I'm about to get that title shot. Now there's something wrong with being a boxer." And she's like, "Baby, calm down. I thought we were joking." He was like, "No, you know what?" And she's like, "Baby, calm down. Eat your food." He's like, "No, I'm not hungry anymore." And he jumped up and walked away and walked out the door. To be continued.